Good evening, everybody, and welcome. So glad to have you here. I'm CNN correspondent Holly Furfer, and tonight, very honored to be your host for this incredible book festival in your living room. So, on behalf of the Marcus JCC here in Atlanta and the National JCC Literary Consortium, we are pleased to have you here, especially thanks to our partner bookseller, Books and Books in Miami, Florida. We appreciate them so much. Thank you for being a part of this incredible evening. So we have two international superstars, one author, star of stage screens, both large and small, Sharon Stone, and our interviewer, global music sensation, Gloria Estefan, both right here in your living room. I'm on cloud nine. The two are going to be talking about Sharon's new memoir, The Beauty of Living Twice. If you haven't read it yet, it's incredible. A deeply personal story of strength, survival, and resilience in the face of harrowing adversity, published by Alfred A. Knopf. Okay, so I know you're going to have a lot of questions for both of these incredible women. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a Q&A section, not the chat section. We're not really monitoring that, but put your questions, if you don't mind, in the Q&A section. And I'm going to disappear for a little bit, but when I come back towards the end of the conversation, I'll try to get to as many questions as I can. Okay, on to our main event. A little bit about our amazing superstars. Our moderator this evening is international superstar Gloria Estefan, a Grammy award-winning singer, actress, songwriter, author of 2 New York Times best-selling children's books, philanthropist, and humanitarian. She's considered one of the world's most recognizable and successful Latin blood performers, and Billboard magazine calls her the single most successful Latin crossover artist in music history. In 2015, President Obama honored Emilio and Gloria Estefan with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor presented to individuals who have made meritorious contributions to the United States, to world peace, and to cultural endeavors. And our author, the esteemed, incredibly talented Sharon Stone. She's an actress, a human rights activist, artist, mother, daughter, sister, and writer. She's been honored with a Nobel Peace Summit Award, a Harvard Humanitarian Award, a Human Rights Campaign Humanitarian Award, and an Einstein Spirit Award, among many other accolades. We are in the presence of greatness, dare I say. She currently lives in Los Angeles with her family. So please welcome both of our very honored guests this evening, Gloria Estefan and Sharon Stone. Ladies, the festival is all yours. I'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you. Hello and thank you. Sharon, welcome to my lair. Where am I? In your place with that beautiful painting. Is that one of yours?
It is. It's the last one I just finished.
When did you finish that?
Day before yesterday.
Ooh, and what was the feeling that evoked that gorgeous painting behind you?
Well, I was giving a hand to surrealism. I wanted to do this. I had this idea of surrealism. And so in this painting, I have like the wave, the Japanese wave, fire, kind of the, I thought of this woman coming up here, the redheaded woman, as sort of like the birth of Venus, and this Roman sculpture, like that kind of, ancient man. And still, with everything happening, the big wave, the fire, everything, they're still looking to the moonlight. They're still looking towards that romantic notion of the moonlight and that first star of the moonlight. Because I think that no matter where we are, at the beginning or the end, which is what I think we don't know right now, we just don't know how we feel. Are we at the beginning or the end? We still look out to that moon and the moonlight and that piece of us, that beginning piece of ourselves. And so
that's your life. That's your life that you just described.
Right? So that's kind of where I was at when I painted that. The first painting I did was this Mother Earth painting, and then I painted that. I don't really know exactly where I'm going, but this is kind of my theme now, is really that what we're looking at right now, this moment in time that we're looking at is very specific and unusual.
Well, congratulations both on your newfound love of painting and your career heading in that direction. That's a great way to be a catharsis for you. And people keep asking me, why are you interviewing Sharon? They don't know that we have known each other for a long time. I had the honor and pleasure of meeting you when you were down in Miami shooting The Specialist back in '93.
And you guys did that great soundtrack, that killer soundtrack.
I loved it. By the time we did the soundtrack, I was very pregnant and doing it on the roof of that building with the amazing director. But I loved meeting you because the first thing that struck me about you was that despite the fact you're this huge star, from Hollywood, you were so involved with so many incredible causes and philanthropic thoughts. You and your sister, I also met her during that time. And you really struck a chord with me. And then the last time we were together was in Dubai for the
doing
film
festival
festival
thing.
I want to know if you remember this, though. We were sitting next to each other and you dropped your bracelet, and my hubby, when you saw that you had dropped it, you were freaking out because it was a very expensive bracelet.
Which wasn't really mine, of course, because we get lent all this jewelry to wear to these fabulous things.
Exactly. And my very lucky man, who always finds things no matter where they are, he dove under the table and he didn't come up until he had found your bracelet. And we sang together on stage. That was
if you can imagine that anyone would want to hear me sing, but of course Gloria, who is the most philanthropic person alive, is on the stage and she goes, "Come on, sing with me." And
of course, and you can do it all.
I pretend to sing. I pretend. So I kind of put the mic far. I'm like, and la, la, I put the mic away.
Well, I'm convinced you can do everything because I loved your book. I found it fascinating. I thought it was kind of like being in your brain. It was very stream of consciousness. Like if I had been having a conversation with you and, you go to all these interesting places, yet I can never tell where you're going to go. It was really incredible. You jumped around to amazing stories and things in your life. And I found it fascinating. This must have been like a really deep dive for you. And what was the deciding factor for you in opening yourself up like this to the world? Was it the bleed that you experienced in 2021, or had you already been thinking about this before?
Well, one of the reasons, both you and I have been through a lot. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this talk with you is because you too you've survived a lot. And when first of all, we're so public, we're such public people because we're not only entertainers, we go on stage and talk to people. And we talk to people about the things we believe in, and we ask people to help us with the things that we're trying to help other people with. And we really get with people in our efforts to help and to change the world. And during this journey, we've both been injured very badly. And as you know, coming back publicly, once you've really had a tough time, it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to pick yourself up when you're in pieces and get back together again. And part of what I wanted to understand is why? Why did I get to a place where I had to have this crash? What did I need to learn? What did I need to change? How did I need to grow? And I obviously needed to grow, and I grew a lot. And this time, globally, we're all going through a tremendous effort of change. Like there's no way to resist the fact that we're all changing now, and that we all have to change, and we will change, and that the world is changing and change is upon us. So I wanted to really know myself. I started thinking, if I'm going to write a memoir, well, what memoir? The memoir of where I've traveled all over the world with my work, which I'm sure you can relate to, or the memoir of my philanthropic efforts, again, which you could relate to. But first we have to know who we are, I think, before we start telling people about what we've done or where we've gone or what's happened. It's happened to who? And so I felt like I wanted to really see who am I and how am I and how did I get to be here and what happened? So it was sort of an investigation, I guess.
I know, and I imagine it must have been very difficult to decide what to include, what to leave out, because I mean, I'm a pretty private person. So whenever I've thought about, and even this show that I've been doing, Red Table Talk, where I wouldn't have done if my mother was still alive, number one, because it would have been very tough on her. But the whole purpose was to engage other people and have them realize that we're all humans going through a very human experience. And it doesn't matter what you do as a job or for a living. We are blessed that we have jobs where we really can reach out to a lot of people and be effective in many different ways, but we still are humans that want to protect their privacy and want to protect those things that take us to the darkest places. Let's start with the experience that you went through with your, with the brain bleed. Was there for you, any hint that this was coming, or was it just out of nowhere, like that truck that hit me at the highest point of my career and everything was hunky-dory?
Right. I have to say, things were spiraling in a negative direction prior to this happening. Things were starting to fall apart in my life. And I was having other problems prior to having this problem. My life wasn't going well. My life was unhappy. I was very unhappy. As I wrote about in the book, I'd already had surgery. I'd had very serious breast tumors. I was in the process of having reconstructive surgery from that. When this happened to me, yes, things were really going the wrong direction when this happened. And I think if I'd understood that, and I can guess, things were probably not going great when the truck came along in your life, and when all of a sudden, I mean, you really hurt your back, right?
Yes, I was paralyzed in that accident, and fortunately, and miraculously, and using the prayers of so many people around the world that were aimed at me, I visualized a lot at that moment and internalized those prayers. And speaking of that reconstructive surgery that you had, it really struck me because it really says a lot about women in our position in this world sometimes, that you had, talked to the doctor about what he was going to replace, when he took all the tumors out. And when you woke up, he had given you an entire cup size bigger than what you had wanted. And I know of other people that this has happened to, and it's just mind-boggling to me how someone could make those kinds of decisions, at a moment where you cannot
unconscious,
have a say.
Yes. And I have had this experience several times medically where I just been treated with such dismissal and such as though I was an object, not a patient. And I think that women, and I know that when I talk to many of my women friends, they've had a similar experience. And as you say, you have other friends that the same exact thing has happened to them. And it's outrageous. It's just outrageous.
It really is, because they decided that because they know aesthetically better, that was going to be maybe his personal preference.
I think it's for their personal preference,
right?
Aesthetic, because aesthetically is a completely erroneous concept.
Exactly. And when you did, it happened the same thing with the surgeon that treated you in the emergency room, that he gave the wrong diagnosis, and he talked to People magazine before you even had a chance to discuss with him what they were going to do. And it's really incredible that you were able to put your foot down. You stood up for yourself and you said, no, you fired him. I love that.
The emergency room doctor was amazing to me. But when I got transferred to the second hospital, the doctor that was assigned to me was, I guess I would just have to say, quite misogynistic. He had a very superior doctor personality where he felt he didn't have to explain anything to me and he didn't have to talk to me and he could sign me up for exploratory brain surgery without my knowledge or consent, and he didn't have to explain anything to me. And when I woke up being wheeled down the hallway to exploratory brain surgery, I had no idea where I was going. And when I asked for them to stop and explain it to me, it was just considered that I was just being really annoying. And so I had to stand up on a moving gurney with the hospital gown with my rear hanging out, and to get them to stop taking me to exploratory brain surgery and try to talk to me.
And a nurse saved you too. She stood up for you.
Because the doctor refused to explain to me, and he told me I didn't have to, and I should sit down and shut up. And thank God the nurse was so clear-headed and really understood that what he was doing was frankly not even legal. And
well, nurses are the caregivers, you know. Who had signed that consent, by the way? Because you said he told you that someone had signed a consent.
I never saw it.
That's incredible.
I never saw it.
But again, the nurses that are the caregivers and really have done, by the way, a spectacular job during this pandemic. I shout out again to all our healthcare nurses.
This world would not be, we would have had so many more deaths during this.
It's incredible, and the sacrifices they've given. But I found it incredible too that you got a bedside visit from your grandmother who had been deceased for 30 years. Yeah. And she also came through for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was your paternal grandmother.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't believe in that sort of thing, but it was certainly very real for me. And she appeared at the foot of my bed. And first of all, I recognized her by her scent. She wore Shalimar perfume, and I smelled her in the room first. And I opened my eyes and she was standing at the foot of the bed, and not at the age she was when she passed away, but younger, dressed great, whole great outfit, the whole thing, the way she really liked to be. And telling me that, you know, that they, and I don't know who they was, they didn't know completely what was going on, but not to move my neck at all. And it was such a clear directive. And my grandmother was a very clear person, very direct person. And so I scooted to the edge of the bed, and my dad had brought me a teddy bear, and I stuffed the teddy bear under this side of my neck, which is where the bleed was, and sort of, you know, wedged myself into the side of the bed so I couldn't move my neck.
Which helped you.
Saved my life.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm a believer. I think that we're an energy that changes shape, and that when you are in those in-between stages, which you absolutely were, right on, you know, death's door.
Our energy changes shape when we perform and when we go on stage.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree. It connects. The first thing I think about before I'm going to step on a stage, and I don't know if for you it's the same when you're filming or doing whatever you do, but I concentrate on opening all my chakras and, you know, doing a silent prayer to my grandmother now, both my mother and my grandmother, and praying that I connect with the audience, that I am open, and that these channels be open so that they can not just listen to my music, but, you know, get my energy and I feel theirs. Right. So I definitely believe very much in that energy, and I'm thankful to your grandmother. And she was probably talking about the people down here that still didn't have a clue about what was happening with you.
Right.
They had to go in a few times, or a couple of times at least, before they really found out what was happening.
Exactly.
That you'd had an aneurysm, and they had to put clips in your brain.
I had a tear in my vertebral artery. And at first they thought I had an aneurysm that had bled out. And then they realized that because I was laying on one side recovering from this breast surgery, that all the blood was over here. They didn't realize that the injury was over here. And when they went in again, they realized that my artery here was torn, almost completely gone. And that they had to make a quick decision. And my sister, because she's a nurse and she's really understood me very well, understood I wanted the most modern process, which they did.
Exactly. And speaking of your sister, you grew up in Pennsylvania in Amish country.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you describe it in the book, I mean, first of all, you've got an amazing, talent for bringing to life a scene with the smells and the sights and everything. I enjoyed so much reading about all those descriptions of you growing up, because to me as well, those things really made an impact.
And the audiobook, I think, is worth listening to. I did listen to some of it after I did it. And I have to say, doing it really helped bring the book home for me. I do think the audiobook is also valid.
Exactly. So everybody check it out. If you like audiobooks, you get that book. You're going to be enamored of all these amazing descriptions. Is it the way you remember it? Like, do you remember your childhood more as happy or tough? Because I know, and we'll talk about it later, that you went through some serious things that I don't want to get to right now, because I want to get to other things first. But you also had a very close relationship with your siblings. Did that continue?
I think of my childhood as sort of ordinary, like just a childhood, like.
Yeah, but it wasn't ordinary, because you were, hunting, helping your dad put food on the table. You were gardening, you were working, you were like doing stuff. You were contributing.
I think that in real middle and rural America, this is a very ordinary childhood. I think we have a few big cities where people are more privileged, but the majority of Americans, the whole family is out there putting it together. The whole family, everybody, once you're up and you're walking, you're taking out the trash, you're helping with the laundry, you're helping clean the house, you're feeding the dogs, you're doing the chores, you're in it. It's very rare in families that you have the luxury of having any helpers of any kind. In our family, we did everything. If the car broke, we fixed the car. If the plumbing broke, we fixed the plumbing. If the electricity went out, we fixed the electricity. We didn't have money to call in people to fix anything. So we had to do everything. We learned to do everything.
Yeah, and your dad was hands-on, was very hands-on. Your dad.
Like, I know how to caulk a bathtub or solder a pipe or, fix something,
I love that too, by the way. I am like the encyclopedia of useless information, they call me, which actually is very useful.
And it's
I like to teach my daughter that she can do anything that she needs to have done, and whatever you don't know, you learn, because I like to be resourceful. I dreamed of being a Girl Scout. My mom didn't let me do it because I was a Cuban girl, so there was no way she was letting me go to any jamborees or campouts. But your mom also had a very tough childhood, and she had to work from the age of 9.
Right.
Like my grandmother, who also had to work from the age of 9 and was an amazing, for me, she was a hero. Your mom, it was tough for you, the relationship with your mom.
It was tough because, she was so private about it. And I'm not proud, it wasn't a period where we were talking about these things. Me starting to talk about these things was the first time I ever got to know what my mother had been through and how hard her life had been and what had happened to her. To be given away to be someone's maid, a housekeeper, laundress when you're 9, and to have that be the good thing that happened in your life, that's a tough life. And my mother didn't say. She said that these nice people took her in to live with them. She didn't explain that these nice people were her employers and that she was their child servant. She doesn't talk about it in that way. She talks about them with such a glowing, though she still calls them Mr. and Mrs., but she'll say like, oh, they gave me a glass of milk when I was doing my homework every night. or they gave me a cup of hot chocolate, like they gave her, you know, $1 million and a trip around the world, you know, and for her, it was that big of a deal because my mother was starving.
Of course, that's what she needed at the time. To her, it was akin to $1 million or a trip around the world.
It was.
Everything is relative, you know.
She had been rickets and scurvy when she went to live with them.
That's
She
incredible.
was starving to death. And so when I think about it, it just makes me mad. It's just horrifying to me, you know, that her mother was walking 5 miles a day to get a 50-cent ticket to feed her 5 children, and that her mother was a maid and was dragging her kids around with her to try to keep them safe. It's just horrifying.
Yes, our generations, previous generations have gone through hell, you know, to try to build a family, build a life here. And they did what needed to be done and whatever had to be done. And that strength is in you. And I know that.
And I feel like when I met you, that was one of the first things that made me really feel connected to you, is that you have that work ethic, Gloria. You really, your whole family is so strong and has been through so much. And I really think that this is something that our country really needs to understand. It really needs to understand what it means to come here, to immigrate here, to be a part of this country. When my mother was small, in the store windows, you know, there were signs that said no Irish, no dogs. And it is the same.
We had them down here. No children, no pets, no Cubans. We had them here too.
Exactly. So, you know, we don't think about this, you know, our country doesn't remember the way that immigrants have been treated always. And we're a country built on immigration. That was what our country was built for, to
Absolutely.
be the melting pot. We are supposed to be the melting pot. There aren't supposed to be signs that say, you know, no animals, no Cubans, no Irish, no Blacks, you can't be here. It's supposed to be the melting pot. We are supposed to all be loved and welcomed here in this United States.
Absolutely. And it is a beautiful premise that at least is our guiding light, because we're all humans and everybody makes mistakes. And, you know, racism is part of humanity, you know, that's just the way it is. And something that we need to weed out and that we need to check ourselves for continuously, because nobody's perfect, but we need to keep striving for that ideal that is this country, that are the words that are on that Statue of Liberty that is so inspiring.
And in this demonstrate here, these are 2 immigrant families whose women came to help this country be more.
And whose women are strong, because the women in my family were really, it's a very matriarchal thing that I grew up around. I never thought there was anything I couldn't do, because I saw my grandma and my mom doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah, my dad was ill. My grandfather, you know, died when he came here after his 5th heart attack. And the women, they just did what had to be done, as women we tend to do. And at that time, were you dreaming of escaping the, you know, that life? When did you start thinking about like your career? Did it just happen slowly? I know you modeled, but did you have a dream in there? Did you have something in your mind that was concrete that you said, I want to do this. This is what I'd like to be?
You know, all of my scholastic period, from the moment I started school when I was a baby, I was being tested for this, tested for that, put in these special kind of classes, put in this scholastic program and that one. And then I was in college when I was 15. And so I kept thinking, oh, okay, well, I've got to go somewhere. But like, even the colleges that I got scholarships for, it's like my parents weren't going to let me go away to Howard or to some other college, because they were like, that's too far and you're too young. So I got to go to the college that was closest to me, that didn't yet have university status, because I was too little to be out of my parents' purview.
Yeah, so I can understand that.
I can
understand it. You can understand it now. You have 3 beautiful boys.
I could understand it, but I would want them to be where they could, if they were able to go to school at 15, I want them to go where they're going to get the best education.
Right. Yeah, I know, I understand, but it's hard to just,
It is.
especially for women. You have boys. I have a boy and a girl. It wasn't nearly as hard for me when my son took off to LA, even though it was still hard. He was 18, but I knew he was a man and he wasn't going to face the same things that my daughter might. I didn't buy him mace like I did for my daughter when she went off to college, or a whistle, or tell him, how to keep the phone, and, not, if you've got headphones in, not to be listening to music, to be aware of your surroundings. Like, we have to prepare our daughters in a different way for this world than we do the men, because they're just in a lot more danger. And I know that you went through a lot of that when you went to, let me ask you this question. What is the first feeling that bubbles up inside of you when I say the word Hollywood?
I get a little feeling in my throat, like
You get choked up? What was the most difficult experience you had on your way to becoming a star? On your way, not yet a star. Does one pop out at you? Like one above all the others?
The first thing that came up when you said that is one of the first really big meetings I had with a studio executive, the head of a studio. And it was the first time that the president of a studio asked to see me. And I remember exactly what I was wearing because I had one good outfit. I had one Ralph Lauren jacket that I thought, oh, this is so fancy because it's a designer jacket. And I remember because it had a little ruffle on the seam of the sleeve. And I thought that was really a big deal. Yeah, I thought, oh, I have a Ralph Lauren jacket that I got on sale at like a discount closeout store.
Yeah, those are the best kind, I gotta tell you, to get a nice jacket and discount.
On sale, right? And I had a denim, like long skirt with a ruffle and cowboy boots. And I remember thinking, I have like the right clothes to wear to an important meeting. And I remember thinking, oh, I really have this together and this is great. And I'm gonna meet the president of the studio. And I was just so excited, and I was early, and I sat in the parking lot waiting, and it was such a big deal. And I went in, and I remember because it was the 80s and the couches were like almost on the floor, they were so low. And I was sitting on this really low couch and my knees were like up like this. And he was walking back and forth in front of me. And so he was like up here, And so he's walking back and forth. And he was like, it's true what they say. You're fantastic. And you're the most beautiful. And you're going to be such a big star. And he's saying all this stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is really happening. I'm in the studio and he's liking me. And this is so great. And he turned around and he stood in front of me and he went, but first, and he unzipped his pants, took his penis out in my face. And I was so low that it was right in my face. And I went, and I just started laughing hysterically because and I just couldn't stop. And I started laughing and crying, like those kind of like cartoon tears.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm laughing hysterically and the tears are jumping out like this. And he didn't know what to do because I couldn't stop laughing and I couldn't get my breath.
Was it laughable? What, he whipped out at you?
I was just so panicked.
I know, it's terrible.
You know what I mean? Like it came out and I just went like that. And I could not catch my breath.
Did he let you out of there?
He disappeared into the door at the back of his office. So I thought he had left. And it was many years before I became successful enough to realize that that was the private bathroom to his office. and that he was trapped in the toilet in his bathroom. And that I was just sitting there laughing and crying for so long until he must have buzzed a buzzer or something, and his secretary came in and got me, because I didn't know what to do or how to go or what anything, because I'd never been in a
But that reaction saved you from a very
dangerous situation.
Dangerous situation, because you actually, without not knowing, you flipped it on him, and you had a reaction that was so unlike anything he was probably used to that he didn't know what to do.
No,
So,
and he did in the bathroom.
Oh my God. All right, well, that's a big one on your way to stardom. What about when you were already a star? What is the thing that pops into your head that is the most difficult or, or weird thing that you had to go through once you were already a big star?
Well, I'm going through right now that the director of Basic Instinct, when Basic Instinct was released here in the States, it was released in a way so they could get an R rating.
Right.
The director did what he called a director's cut, which was triple X, that he released somewhere foreign, I don't know what, because theaters don't really release triple X, but he had cut what he called a triple X director's cut. What I just learned in the last couple of days is that he's broadly going to release this triple X director's cut on a global level. And because I was young 30 years ago when this came out, and I didn't have any power, I don't have a contract that has what is now the new Screen Actors Guild nudity clause, where they can't do that anymore. That wasn't in effect in the olden days. And so I have no rights about this, no payment, no rights, no nothing. And so the studio and the director have decided to release this triple X editor's cut now.
And there's nothing you could do. Can't sue their butts.
There's nothing legally that I can do. And
Well,
I feel like that is a very big, I would say, like Me Too kind of just abusive, presumptive Hollywood action.
it really is. But you know what? What we do have now is the power of being able to group together and collectively say, we're not going to watch this film. So anybody that's out there in the world watching us, if and when this comes out, we can all in protest refuse to watch the film, or, just that we do have more power, at least as women.
People will probably watch it because they'll be like, oh, what's now? Because the lure of vulgarity is so strong. The lure of that is very, very strong. And because the studios took such a bath during COVID, they're willing to be as base or lurid as they can possibly be.
Yeah. It won't be a good look for them, though. Absolutely.
It's not going to be.
Because it's such an obvious, ploy of why they're doing this. And, those things are very difficult. But quite honestly, in your book, there was something that you shared that was so difficult. The abusive nature of your grandfather, your maternal grandfather, abusing you as a child. And to share that, I'm sure you're going to help so many women that are out there and girls that may be not realizing, because they're also in positions of people that have power over them, whether it be family or some adult that knows how to, do these kinds of
people in the family who say, you'll ruin our family, or you'll hurt our whole family, or do you realize what you'll do to our family? Or you can't tell anyone. You just can't ever, don't be like Sharon Stone. Don't tell people, don't do that. I mean, that's what was told to me. Don't be like that. Don't Dope. What are you going to do? Go on Oprah and tell everyone?
Right.
Well,
Who knew? Who knew at the time? When what was the
exactly what I
first
did.
person?
I went on Oprah and told
Right.
everyone.
What was the first person? Who was the first person you told this experience? Your sister or
No, a therapist.
a therapist? And how old were you when that happened?
Probably. I'm trying to kind of piece it together, but I think I was around 28 or 29.
And what did the therapist tell you? Did she say to share it, to tell your mother to?
Well, I was already like several years into therapy with her. She said, "What? You say that again, you bit," because I said, "I don't know if this is important.
Oh my
I don't know
Lord.
if this means anything, but I feel like maybe I should tell you this." And it took a long time. And then it took a much even longer time for me to be able to say, other things that had occurred as a result of me hiding this and allowing myself to be manipulated. Because if you're a person who has been abused, other abusers just can sniff you out, and you
Absolutely.
are just rife to be manipulated, abused, taken advantage of. I mean, this is something you want to get dealt with. You want to deal with this and get it off you.
Yes. And your family, how did they respond when you told them that you were going to be open about it in the book? Were they supportive, or did they have a rough time? Because it's a family thing,
It's terrorizing for everybody when you blow a secret. It's not, I can only talk about how I'm doing with it, really. I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm really glad that I did this.
You're the one that counts, quite honestly.
I have both feet on the ground. I know that it helped my mom, but my mom has been entrenched in this. She's 88. It's not going to just, I've done every therapeutic process that there is known to mankind for trauma. So,
that generation doesn't, first of all, they don't do too well with therapy. And with your mom's upbringing and the way they're just like, get past it, get past it, get past it, bury it.
Yeah. And don't, whatever you do, don't tell other people. And whatever you do, don't make it a public event.
But that's what's going to help other people, because, keeping quiet about it, no one finds out. But when other women or even men that go through this, because it's not just women,
right?
They hear that they're not alone, that other people go through this, that there's another side to this, to getting past that and to putting a stop to whatever is happening.
When I did, at one point in my life, I did a 12-step program about this that's specific for this kind of abuse. And I was astounded by the fellow people who were in this with me, the doctors and lawyers and high-level professionals that were in these meetings. I was always thinking, this just must only happen to just horrible people. And this must really happen to the most lowbrow people and people who come from, I don't know what kind of families. I had this is just like such a terrible thing, and it must only happen in the worst scenarios. And I found out, oh my God, this happens in the wealthiest families in the world. And this happens in the most sophisticated environments in the world. And this happens to like the toniest people around. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a second. This is something that privilege is really glossing over. These fancy families really don't want anybody to think this is happening in their family. It's not just happening in poor families. This is happening in all families. And the origin of this is in the family. This is why this is happening in offices. This doesn't start in an office. This starts in homes.
Yes, absolutely right. And have you heard from a lot of the readers or people that have been helped by you, being open about this? Have you heard from them? Because I'm sure there have been some dramatic comments and responses and letters to you. Do any stand out in your mind?
I am not only hearing from a lot of people, but what's happening to me now that I'm vaccinated and I'm able to go out in the world is that the way that people are seeing, talking to me, just greeting me, just like a hand on my arm. I'm seeing this kind of empathy and compassion that only happens when people truly understand and truly relate. And I'm seeing how many other people have been through my experience and how relieving it has been for people to say, it's not just me. Oh my God, it's not just me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hate to interject. This conversation is going so well, but speaking of other people, can I get to some questions if you don't mind? Because there's questions for both of you.
That would be great. Thank you,
I could
Sharon,
listen to
so
you.
much for this conversation. And I so enjoyed your book. I think it's going to make a big impact on so many. And you've been brave and honest and, just so forthcoming. And I just think that helps us all. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So let me start with this question because Ingrid Vogel says she's so excited. It's 2 a.m. in Germany where she's watching from. And she says, but it's worth it. Will the book be available in German?
Well, I certainly hope so. And whoever is the biggest German bookseller just needs to ask Knopf and we will happily grant you the rights and you can translate it. We've already sold it to 12 different countries. It's been printed in several different languages already. I know it's in French and Italian and Spanish, and we would love to have it in German. It would be my biggest honor to have it in German. I would love that so much.
Okay, Ingrid, you have a mission now. She has a mission to get it translated into German. Christelle,
and she will do so, I guarantee you.
I have a feeling she's watching at 2 a.m.
Yes,
she
will do
it. Christelle Rubio says, Gloria, are you planning to write a book? You inspire many people as well.
I've had that book rolling around in my head for years. I want to write it. I take time. So yes, it's in my plans, but boy, just finding the time, as you know, Sharon, is so hard. So, but yeah, it's in my plans. We shall absolutely.
Joshua Paget says, Ms. Stone, thank you for your iconic, unforgettable performances and incredible activism. You've been a true inspiration for artists such as myself and countless others worldwide. Were there any writers or autobiographies that inspired you while writing your memoir? Total respect and much love to you. And he says, the legend in all capitals, just so you know.
Yes, I am a huge fan of Joan Didion. I would say that she inspires me the most. Her style of writing is very, very cool. And it makes you feel like you really understand what's happening. And I love that. I love that so much. I love the way that she writes.
And Sherry says, you both have had amazing careers and have been influential in my life as strong women and role models. How do you think women today can achieve success and sustainability in our society?
I'll leave that to you, Sharon.
Well, or you, I mean, you just go on and on and on. Somehow we manage to stay upright.
And look gorgeous.
We love what we do. And for me, like you say that you do so many things, I'm just excited about doing whatever creative thing that I feel that I, can offer something to people. That's why, and I love to explore and grow. I love to continue to grow and learn every day. Every day. The day that you think you know it all, you may as well hang it up, because I think we're learning to the end of our days and beyond. And I feel very excited about exploring things that make me excited to get up and try to do something.
Do you want to add to that, Sharon?
I agree. I think that's it. I think you have to, working on the book, selling the book, talking to all the different people about the book is so interesting. It's so interesting to hear people's feedback and what they think and what they want to know. And it's, to paint, to do something different, to just keep trying new things is always so fascinating.
Yes, indeed. And support each other. so that women can just continue to grow and do better, and match men's salaries. And that's happening though, because when I was a child, you had careers to choose from, was nurse, teacher, or homemaker.
Yeah.
And now there are more doctors and lawyers that are graduating that are women than men. And we have astronauts and we have astrophysicists. And so women are just growing and evolving, and we need to continue.
I was taking accounting in school, and my teacher used to just scream at me, "Stone, you mental midget." I mean, it was like, there was no, like, why are you even bothering?
Wow.
Like, women were so rejected to do anything but these standard pre-chosen ideas.
And at the same time, an African-American woman was putting the astronauts on the moon.
Keeping them safe. Yep.
Yes, and doing all the math that had to, that got them there. So
now it's a heart surgeon for the astronauts.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
So Maddie Peretti says, during the pandemic, I've been doing some writing and reflecting as well. I was wondering if there was anything you learned about yourself looking back, and how long did it take for you to write and actually finish the book?
It took about a year and a half, and I learned everything. I really learned who I was compared to who everyone else was telling me who I was.
Here's a question.
What was the difference? What was the biggest difference, Sharon, from who people told you who you were and who you really feel you are?
I am such a gentler, softer, much more feminine, simpler soul, simpler, sweeter, easier person than that person that was defined, and those subsequently people were coming at me like that. So I always felt like I had to be like kind of dukes up and ready and sort of stern and good to go with that. And then now I just feel like, I am who I am, and like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to do me, you do you.
Good for you.
If you have to do all that, like, I'll just watch while you do that.
I think they expect you to be your roles in the movies.
Yes.
You know?
And it's like, not really, like, I just can't.
And sometimes you want to give them what they want, because the nature of an artist is to try to fulfill their
needs.
Yeah, but good. I'm glad that you're
done.
You.
I'm done with that.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Karen Lambton asks, what would you tell your younger self? And I'd love to put it to both of you. Sharon, do you want to go first? What would you tell your younger self?
Oh, just, I don't know, good for you, or I love you, or you're a good kid, or, just probably I would just be really encouraging, and supportive, and probably kinder, be a kind voice, steady, kind, balanced. I would probably provide balance and steadiness. I would like to be a person who provided some balance and steadiness.
What about you, Gloria? What would you tell your younger self?
I've been asked this question a lot, so I've thought about it. And I think that I would tell myself, relax, be in the moment. It goes so quickly. And I didn't like being the center of attention. So in order to really gear myself to get through this roller coaster, when we got all the success and I was the front man of the band, sometimes I would look over people's heads during a show just to be able to do what I was doing, when I really wanted to look in their eyes. And eventually when I did, when I was able to feel relaxed enough to just look into each and every one of their eyes and connect even more. Right. And I just took so much more from the experience. And that's what I tell my daughter, who is similar to me and is an amazing artist, the best musician in the family, and someone that I admire and respect greatly. And I tell her, number one, don't edit yourself because she wants to do everything perfectly. And number two, just be in the moment, because that's the only thing that we ever have for real. That moment that you're living, whatever it is you're doing at this moment or whatever moment you're living, just be there 100%. And that's what I would tell my younger self, because I think I would remember a lot more things than I do.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah.
This is a great question from Dave Carlson. He says, love you both so much. Just hours before this event, I found out that a dear friend of mine had a bad stroke from a blood clot that formed in her heart and is now fighting for her life. What's your advice, both of you, for her first steps as she makes it through the next few days, and the best thing she can do for herself? And Dave, I want also to tell you, we're sending you our love and prayers to her and to all of you. But since you both have been in that situation, what can you tell Dave as someone who, a caregiver, a friend, and a support system?
Prayers
Sharon,
matter.
this is yours.
Prayers matter. I can just say that I have a friend who had a really rough time in her life, and then she got through it and her life changed, and she married a really terrific guy, and then everything started going really good and her life got really great. And I said to her, how did you do that? How did you go from having things be really hard to really good? And she said, my mother told me to say, when I didn't know what to do, to say, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I said, I don't think I'm the Jesus, Jesus, Jesus type. And she said, oh, I wasn't either. But that's what she said, and that's what I did. And you asked me, so that's all I can say.
Absolutely.
So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it, and I'll do it. I'm a Buddhist, but I'll do it. And so I started doing that. I started saying, Jesus, 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 Buddha, 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 right? And I started going, Jesus, 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 Buddha, 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 right? And I've been doing that now for several years. And I did it all through the writing of the book. I'm doing it all through the selling of the book. I've been doing it. And I just want to tell you, my life has completely changed. I have a life that is 180 degrees from that spot I found myself on in that hospital bed when I was losing my life. My life is 180 degrees changed. And I am here to say, Jesus, 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 Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. I am grateful because when I think that, would anyone ever read my book? Would I be able to tell the story correctly? Would I be able to say my story in a way that would make people feel loved, would make people feel a kindness to themselves and others, would make it be able to feel like they would feel safe enough to say what happened in their own lives and get resolution or salve in any way? And I think when I go on a stage, like when you go on a stage, you say a prayer, I get down and I say, please let me be a worthy conduit. Please let me be a worthy conduit. Please let me be a worthy conduit. And I just want whatever's supposed to happen to come through me to the audience. And I know that I have to be bigger than 1-to-1. I have to be big enough to be 1 to 500, 1 to several million if we're on TV, whatever it is. And I just want to be clear and good and worthy. And I feel like I have been able to be worthy enough through this process that this is touching people. And by doing this exercise that my friend told me, by saying Jesus, 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 and Buddha, 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 whatever that chord touches in the universe, it has made me able to have something flow through me that's worthy. And I believe that it's valid.
Absolutely. And I would say, look at Sharon Stone. She went through a similar or more difficult experience, and look at her here sharing her story, her life in good health and well. So I have, thankfully, your friend hopefully was caught in time, and there is another side, and there is coming back from that. And prayers
And
absolutely.
you aren't paralyzed.
Yeah, and prayers absolutely help. I told you, I felt people's prayers around me like a physical energy. I channeled them into my body. I know that they helped me heal. And I felt it myself. I grew up in, Catholic nun school. We prayed all the time. I really didn't have a concept until I was the recipient of prayers of millions of people around the world to really understand that it is a connection. When we collectively hope, doesn't matter what religion, doesn't matter whether it's Buddha, Jesus, Krishna, it doesn't matter. It's your energy, going towards someone, hoping for their good and their benefit without asking anything in return. That energy is beautiful and it is powerful. And we will send prayers to your friend.
Absolutely. So we believe that your friend, and you're asking for care for your friend, will be the next steps.
Yes.
And then we just have time for one last question. And many people had asked this of both of you. What's next for both of you? So let me start with you, Gloria. What's next for you?
Okay, well, I'm going to be shooting with my good friend Andy Garcia, another shot at Father of the Bride, this time with a Cuban twist, Cuban marrying a Mexican. It's really funny. I love the director, Gaz Alazraki, who is very warm and wonderful, and he did a beautiful Nosotros los Nobles, got all these awards and wonderful comedy. And I'll be shooting 12 new episodes of Red Table Talk, where we will be having conversations such as these and more that people loved the first 8 episodes. And what I hope to do, Sharon, is what you're doing with this book, is to connect people through our personal experiences and through experiences that other people have and share, and through 3 generations, my daughter, my niece Lily, and myself. So it's going to be a busy summer. I've got a duet coming out. I can't announce with who, but it was a thrill in my life to do it. It'll be coming out for Christmas. So we've been pretty busy. And Sharon, I know it has not stopped.
Well, what you might not know is that, I write lyrics, and I never told you this. And
you didn't.
I've had #1s in 3 other countries. And so I finally started doing it here. And I have a song on the adult contemporary charts with a singer called Haley Sales.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And so I have Robin Thicke just took 3 songs for a new artist that he's producing.
Yes.
Music out to several different big artists, fingers crossed. A great new music management team. Things are going great. So I'm entering into your world. If you ever need lyrics.
Welcome, girl.
Thank you.
Excited to have you. I'm sure it's going to be incredible.
I feel like we've just broken news here. Like, this is big.
Yes,
and then maybe next time there will be a duet. I say I'm all for that.
It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting. So I just do the lyrics. So I'm doing a lot of that right now.
What do you mean just do the lyrics?
Right.
That's half the song.
Right. That's me. I do the lyrics.
Just talented.
And I'm having a great time with that. I am I have several limited series in pre-production right now. And I'm having a great time with that, with some wonderful, wonderful people in the business. And it's really marvelous.
And you're raising 3 boys.
I'm raising 3 boys, one who had his 16th birthday on Mother's Day. I have
Happy
one who's
birthday.
turning 15 in 2 weeks and one who's turning 21 in 3 weeks.
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you for taking the time to be here for all of us. You are inspiring, you are exciting and energizing, and you give us a lot to look forward to with all these great things coming. So again, thank you for this. Thank you for this conversation. It's been wonderful, and we wish you so much luck in the future and can't wait to see everything. And I also want to thank everybody else at home and let them know that we have more programs coming up. We've got Senator Amy Klobuchar coming, Paula Scheuer, Andrew McCarthy, Jennifer Weiner, Daniel Silva. So check your local JCC website for all the information. So again, on behalf of the JCC National Literary Consortium and the MJCCA, we appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. You're just wonderful. And thank you for doing all that you do. We appreciate
And
it.
Sharon, thank you for giving me this opportunity to, you know, share this wonderful book with this, you know, with the world. I know you're doing it, but it was an honor that you asked for me, and I am thrilled to be able to be here.
It's too long since we've gotten to sit down
Yes,
with
indeed.
each other, and I'm so happy to see you, and thank you for doing this, and say
My
hello to
pleasure.
your family, and I hope to see you in person sooner than
I
later.
will. And give your sister a big hug from me, please.
Thank you. I
And
appreciate
anytime you guys want to talk again, just come right here. We'll be right here waiting.
Thank you.
it.
Take
All
care,
right.
everybody.
Thanks,
Stay
everybody.
safe and stay happy. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.